Hi, my name is Austin Riley, and you are listening to Accessible Airwaves on CGSW 90.9 FM.
This program is dedicated
to the education and exploration of disabled life,
giving voice to the life and experience of people with disabilities.
We cover a wide array of issues and disabilities.
We are people who discuss issues we are passionate about
and topics we are interested in.
We show how disability is in the mind of the beholder.
Today I'm talking to Collen Huston, Mary Salvani, and Alex Jack, who are members of the Disability Action Hall. The Disability Action Hall is a Calgary-based group of people with disabilities and allies who advocate for social justice and self-advocacy by sharing stories, taking action, and changing lives. It serves as a community space to discuss issues like disability pride, housing, services, and works to create positive change by creating events, advising other organizations, and collaborating on policy issues. Welcome to the show, Collen, Mary, and Alex. What is the Disability Action Hall, and how long has it been around?
Well, I'm going to let Colleen and Mary answer this one because I am still a baby in the hall. I've only been a member for 3 years.
So the Disability Action Hall is a group of people with disabilities and allies that advocate to make change better so that people's lives with disabilities can be improved.
Good. Wow.
And the hall has been around since 1998.
Wow.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Colleen. So the hall started out being mostly allies, but nowadays it's mostly people with disability. I want to hear, Colleen, maybe something cool about the hall's history.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Hi, I'm Colleen, and sorry, I wasn't trying to participate in the interview because I know Mary and Alex are part of it, but I'm happy to provide some context. So the Disability Action Hall started out as a community development project, and it was modeled after the Union Hall concept, and so that collective good. And one of our very first rallies was at the City Hall. And we celebrated 2 people who had the right to love and get married. And we got lost walking along the route to go get, and then end up at the community center for hot dogs. But it was a great celebration. And just to show disability pride and culture was one of my very first gatherings back at that time.
If you feel comfortable sharing, can you tell us about each of your disabilities?
So I have dyspraxia and a mental illness. And dyspraxia affects my movement, and my mental illness affects my anxiety levels.
And so I'm always a little bit nervous to share because I worry that by sharing my disability, especially my developmental disability, that people might think of me differently. But I guess since we are in a safe place here, I will share that I'm autistic. And
same as me.
Oh, wow.
Same
Good
as
to
me.
know you're one of us. One of us. Anyways, and I also use a wheelchair for mobility because I have a chronic illness that affects how much energy I have each day. And it also affects my balance and my ability to walk well.
Oh, okay. Are there any policies you'd like people to know about?
That people on AISH are being forced to apply for the Canada Disability Benefit and the Disability Tax Credit, only to have AISH take away the Canada Disability Benefit from them.
And it's unfortunate because, Out of all of the provinces and territories in Canada, Alberta is the only one that is taking away the $200 Canada disability benefit, like taking it away from people with disabilities. And it's sad because, I mean, we need all the money that we can get because, like, it's really expensive living with a disability and it's expensive to live these days. But I noticed that, like, suspiciously so, the government started up a new employment program that's for, I think it's for everybody and it's for youth and not just people with disabilities, but it's like they're putting the same amount of money towards that employment program that they are taking away from disabled Albertans through the Canada Disability Benefit.
No one has not informed me about this.
One thing is that the government does so many like so many very confusing things, and they don't tell people about it, so not a lot of people know. So it can be hard for us to stand up for ourselves if we don't know, right?
Yeah. Are there any challenges folks with disability have in terms of voting and accessing the polls or information?
I find, for me personally, I didn't have problems with that. But I've heard people say they got to the wrong polling station because they didn't know which one was the right one on election day. I guess because of the Canada Post strike, not a lot of people found out ahead of time which polling station to go to. So that information was quite hard for them to find. And I heard that some people waited really long in lineups on election day too, because of all the new rules regarding elections that the provincial government has given to municipalities.
Yeah, actually, my partner ended up going to the wrong polling station, and he has anxiety, so he was like, it was really hard for him, and it caused him like a lot of distress. Yes, there's the special ballots that you can get mailed to you, but then for a lot of people it's hard to actually sign up for that because like it happens online on the internet, and it can be really hard like for a lot of people like who don't have a computer, or I mean who aren't really that familiar with technology, or like for people who have disabilities that affects, I mean, their ability to read things, right? So it's like the way that they do it is not really inclusive or accessible to all people with disabilities when it really should be.
From what I understand with the mail-in ballot, because Canada Post was having strikes, they were asking people to go pick them up. And I'm like, that's the reason why they can't go vote, is they can't get to the station. So that was kind of ironic. They were asking them to pick it up.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm really lucky because I mean, the hall hosted a voting party, and so I mean, I was able to meet the hall members pretty easily because we met really close to my place. And then, like, I was able to have the support to actually be able to, like, cast my ballot. And I feel like if it weren't for the action hall and the voting party and, like, the support of my peers and, like, my fellow people with disabilities, my people, I would have had a really, really hard time voting. So I mean, that's just one reason why, like, the hall is so important, and it's so important for us to get together and to help each other.
I also found that people don't know their candidates, most of them. Aside from the ones that are popular and on TV a lot, like Mayor Gondek and Jeremy Farkas.
Yeah, I found that as well. I was helping a client and myself research before voting, and I found there wasn't really, I thought it would be helpful if there was a database or a website that would have kind of a little blurb about each candidate for each ward, but you very much had to go out of your way, go find their websites. Even then it wasn't clear. A lot of them were just talking about the blanketing zones. They weren't talking about like more issues than that from what I found in my research. And even my client was like, this isn't very accessible for people with with learning disabilities or with, who are having who need more time to process information. And yeah, I just thought surely there's a better way to deliver people the right information without being so convoluted.
With my dad, he couldn't read the ballot, and no one can tell him what's on the ballot either. So he was looking for shapes that were familiar, like word shapes. And then he voted based on that.
Now that Calgary Municipal Council has been decided, do you know which members are progressive around disability?
A particularly good question. And I have to say, honestly, I'm not really sure. I feel like I should know, but it's just so hard to find that information. But I do know that the candidate I wanted in my ward, who's particularly disability savvy, because he lives with a disability himself, he unfortunately wasn't elected.
I don't know so much about who's disability friendly, but more on the poverty one. I knew that Jeremy Farkas had raised money for the Alex Health Center, and that Jody had voted to keep the low-income bus pass in. And that Andre Chabot, who is the current city councilor for my mom and dad's ward, that he helps sculpt get a sidewalk in the front of the door. That's kind of how we voted.
What challenges do folks with disabilities have in terms of access to basic needs? Food, shelter, love, freedom, expression?
Well, in regards to a lot of people with disabilities have a lower income, so it's harder to access things like food and basic needs like housing. The wait lists are long, and it makes it worse when you have a mobility disability or a sensory disability, because most of the places for housing aren't that accessible.
So that's a very good question. And a lot comes to mind. I don't know, I tend to think of things like the big picture of things. And so I think really the biggest barrier is that the government does not provide enough money, enough funding for us to get the support that we need, to be active members in our community, to be able to work fulfilling jobs, to be able to just have live a life according to our values. Me, for example, I'm only able to get a worker for what is it? So twice a week for an hour each visit. And whereas if I had a worker to go out into the community with me, I feel like my life would be so much better. There's a lot of people going without that support, just because there's not enough money. And the people who can change that are the government, because they're the ones that make those kind of decisions. So I think that is the biggest barrier. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the right to love as well. So people with disabilities who are on AISH, or what's going to soon be ADAP, they aren't allowed to get married without the amount of money that their partner makes being taken back from AISH. So essentially, when people who have disabilities get married, they lose their benefits and they lose their funding and they lose their support. And that's just not fair, because everybody deserves to be able to support themselves, and that shouldn't be the responsibility. It's not fair. I feel like it's a violation of our human rights, because everybody deserves to spend their life with somebody and to have a partner. Yeah. And then another thing is specifically for me, because I'm queer, I'm a trans man, and so there's not a lot of disability services out there that are understanding of people who what are the words I'm looking for? So they're not understanding of people who are from the LGBTQ, the 2S LGBTQ plus community. And so I find because I need a lot of help, like with physical tasks because of my disability. Like it's really hard to find workers who understand that, um, who understand like who I am. And a lot of them just want to treat me like a woman and call me she, her. And then like I've had workers ask me to do my makeup, and it's like, no, I'm a man. Like I like some men wear makeup, but that's not me. That is not how I choose to express myself. And it's just awkward and it's embarrassing, and but there is one really amazing program out there that has created a supportive community for like folks who have developmental disabilities and who are part of the queer community, and that is My Life and Queerly Disabled. It's run by an agency called Vantage Enterprises, and so Queerly Disabled is a group that meets online once a month, and like we talk about issues related to like being queer. Like we talk about some of the government's policies that aren't so good to queer people, and then like we just talk about our lives, and we talk about we talk about our partners, we talk about like the good things about being queer and like about finding a sense of pride, and then we talk about the struggles and we support each other through that. And then My Life is very similar, except they meet in person at the Vantage Enterprises office.
Wow.
Important that these safe spaces exist because everybody deserves like support, everybody deserves respect, and everybody deserves to be safe, like being who they are and living their lives authentically. I know there's also a group through another organization called Skipping Stone, and I believe it meets once a month online as well, and it's catered towards like the neurodivergent community.
Wow. A lot of organizations I'm in hearing.
It's really good to see like these communities just growing and everybody connecting.
Which is good.
Being there for each other. Well, the Action Hall and Scope have also been a part of Pride celebration, all about like the intersection of being disabled and being queer. Having an accessible place, because not a lot of places in the queer community here in Calgary are accessible, and so people just really appreciate like that safe, accessible space.
Good. What can we do to make our world more accessible?
I think one, vote, like if possible, know your politicians when you vote them, what their stance on disability is, and try to make your place accessible from the ghetto, from the start, because it's easier to do that.
A lot of it can start with changing people's attitudes about disability, because I think there's a lot of things that people don't understand about having a disability, and this is part of my disabilities. I often I have thoughts in my head, but they don't want to come out of my mouth.
It's okay.
Oh, thank you. The world needs to learn what it's actually like living with a disability, and people with disabilities like are normal members of society and are people, and like our lives really aren't that much different than people who don't have disabilities. We have dreams, we have aspirations, like we go home, we eat dinner, we spend time with our families, we have partners, that kind of thing. Because I still think a lot of the world thinks that even though we're adults, like we're still children, and like we can't make decisions for ourselves. And you know what I'm saying, right? Do you ever feel like that, Austin?
Yeah.
So I just think that the world needs to learn that people with disabilities want to be a part of society. We're really no different than anybody else.
What changes would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to change the premier.
She would love to hear that from you. I don't think we could. No.
No. No, I'm just saying, I'd like to see more people vote with the knowledge that they, like with knowledge, instead of just guessing on who they're voting for. And I'd like to see people with disabilities be part of the voting access.
So in terms of like a political policy, like what I really want to see is a universal basic income, so that way like everybody is able to have enough money to live and enough money to meet their basic needs. And then that will make sure that people with disabilities, but everybody, like, isn't living in poverty and isn't having to go without food or go without like having a roof over their heads. And I think it will cost the government a lot less money.
Can you expand on that?
Universal basic income means that everybody who lives, like, if it's provincial, like in Alberta, so everybody in the province gets a certain amount of money, and like they don't have to apply for it or anything or jump through any hoops. Like, it's just there, and then they can use it. Then they use it to buy food and to pay rent. So it's unconditional. It is a simple common sense alternative to income security that is full of lots and lots of problems. And so it's always there. Like, no matter what happens to a person, if you end up losing your job, then you just have that money there to help you instead of having to go through and apply for employment insurance, right? Which can take a lot of time, and then in that time you don't have money. Or then the process of applying for AISH, which, I mean, can be pretty lengthy, and a lot of times, like, you're not approved the first time, and then, like, you have to keep applying. But if everybody just gets, I mean, enough money to live right away,
Yeah.
but all of those steps and all of that time that people have to go without having their needs met.
That does make sense.
Like, I also want to see government keep AISH, not make us go on ADAP and make us have to reapply for AISH and take up doctors' times when, I mean, doctors could be seeing patients who are actually sick or hurt. See them right away instead of needing to spend their time filling out forms. ADAP, like, is a program that's scheduled to launch in 2026. And basically, like, it was intended to help disabled Albertans work and be able to earn more money. But there's so many problems associated with it. One of the first problems that comes to mind is so the fact that everybody is going to be moved from AISH to ADAP. And then, like, if you're unable to work, you have to go through, like, a lengthy application process with your doctor in order to get approved for AISH. And so when you're on AISH, you're only allowed to make, you're only allowed to make I don't remember the exact amount, but a small amount of money before the government starts taking back, like, every dollar amount that you earn. And then with ADAP, so it's like you're able to make a certain amount of money, but then the government starts taking away the money that you earn, like, based on a sliding scale, I think. So it's like the more you earn, the more money the government takes back. And it's just, like, talking about it makes me feel anxious and scared because, and then even thinking, like, why is it worth working if the government is just going to be taking away the money that I'm working hard to earn myself, right? Like, it takes away your sense of pride in, like, working and having a sense of purpose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all those applications take up doctors' time, like, and the people filling out needing to go through the applications, like, I've already been on AISH and been approved, so why do that again? It's just a waste of resources.
Can you tell us about the most recent rally you hosted?
Action Hall didn't host it, but me and Kaveen went to the one in Edmonton last week for the ADAP telling the government to scrap it.
Oh.
And it was very good because they had the high school kids join us. And they were excellent.
Okay, so I can actually speak to the rally that Mary went to because this was really nice. So Kaveen actually went on her phone and live streamed most of the event. And so I watched it through Kaveen's live stream. And I just thought, like, because as Mary said, like, there were a lot of students there because it was the same day that the students staged a walkout to support their teachers.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, like, I thought it was just so powerful and so moving, like, to have all the students there supporting us and learning about, like, disability. Wow. And what the government's doing for us and standing up for us and just hearing them. And they actually ended up, like, leading a lot of cheers themselves. So, I mean, it was just, like, it honestly made me start crying.
Aww. How can listeners get involved?
So I would say they can visit our website.
www.actionhall.ca.
Yes, thank you. They can just tell people about the Action Hall and the work that we do. Like, tell their friends, tell their workers, like, just spread the word. Oh, and they can also come to a meeting. We meet every Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30, and sometimes we meet in person, and sometimes we meet online.
Can you share your social media with us?
We're on Instagram, and our handle is the letter D and then the words Action Hall, no spaces. And then we're also on Facebook too. We have, like, a group for discussions, and then we also have a Facebook page, and I think that's just under Disability Action Hall. And then we have our website, which, as you said earlier, Austin, is actionhall.ca.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Mary, Alex, and Colleen. It has been a pleasure chatting with you. You have been listening to Accessible Airwaves on CGSW 90.9 FM.